Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Saturday, December 10th. So today we have the moon in Cancer all day. And of course, the moon is in her place of power in Cancer, which means that we are in for a little bit of an emotional kind of weekend. We're all up in the feels. We're hypersensitive. We're semi-defensive, highly protective against our emotions. We are protective and defensive when it comes to those that we love. We are protective and defensive to the changes that we feel are being forced upon us, whether we want them to or not, because there's a little bit of nostalgia that happens when the moon is in Cancer. We're overly attached to the past. We romanticize the past, and anything that challenges our safety, our security, emotionally, our memories, the people that we love, we are hella and highly reactive about it. So there's a little bit of, some hypersensitivity that we have to watch out for as we navigate through this weekend's energy. So there are 10 different aspects here today, and 7 of them involve the moon. The moon is going to square Chiron. Now, this is definitely going to have us all up in our feels, and not the nice ones. The square is essentially a boxing ring that we have to get in and fight things out and realize where the tension, where the conflict is trying to illuminate, where it is that we need to pour more time, energy, and love into ourselves. Now, Chiron is the wounded healer and does have the tendency in a negative aspect to open up all of those wounds. We have to understand that we tap into the lower vibrational frequency of the moon's energy when we are in a negative aspect. So you best believe that the fears and the doubts and the hypersensitivity, the defensiveness, the overprotective feels that we have are going to come out just a screaming, just a fighting. Now, again, we have to understand that these negative aspects are divinely scripted to illuminate to us what needs to change the most. We need to take very good attention to what is triggering and activating us and breaking it down to find the primary root cause of what is actually going on in our emotional realm in order for us to be able to heal it. Chiron, although yes, does expose the wounds, we also have the knowledge, the wisdom, the resources within us to heal those wounds. We just have to bring them into our awareness. The moon goes ahead, sextiles the true node. This is a beautiful energy. It means that we learn something out of this cluster F of emotions. And what we're learning is what it is that's triggering us. When we figure out the problem, when we figure out the attachment, then we can bring it into our awareness. We can sort through, we can add logic and practicality to it. And what happens is that usually we get a clear indication on where it is that we have to grow. We have to learn. We have to improve. And the true node, because it's our soul's path, our destiny's point, it's trying to encourage us to get on the right path for our soul's mission, our soul's purpose. It does mean that we are contemplating moving forward. That, of course, the moon in Cancer does not want to do right now. But what we're recognizing is these triggers, these activations, these wounds that just got brought into our awareness, what it is that we have to do in order to heal and grow through that energy, which is a good sign. And it does kind of suggest that we're making a little bit of headway in trying to figure out what it is that we need to do from here. The moon goes ahead, makes a very positive interaction with Saturn, the Lord of Karma, ruling over structures and foundations, who is in Aquarian energy. This is a good vibe. What we get from this particular aspect is a real sense on where things are changing. Now, yes, the moon in Cancer does have a tendency to look back on the past and be overly attached and not want to change a whole lot because, again, we romanticize and settle for our situations just to avoid the uncomfortability of change. But Saturn's over here in Aquarius energy, which is very visionary, very futuristic, if you will. And we're recognizing where it is that things are changing and where it is that we do have the power and the control over how things are changing. And a lot of the times we feel out of control with these elements, but what we always have control over is how we are reacting to the changes that are happening. And because This is Saturn energy ruling over structures, ruling over foundations, and we're in this Aquarius energy that has been teaching us a lesson on boundaries. And because Cancer energy lacks boundaries, this is going to be an aha moment on where it is that maybe we don't have to think so far ahead about all that is changing in the reality that we're trying to manifest. Maybe we just need to take a good look at our lives right now and recognize where it is that we need to start building better, stronger boundaries for ourselves to live in order for us to maintain that power, that sense of control over at least our emotional lives. The moon goes ahead, bumps into Mars in not the nicest way. Mars rules over our physical energy, our passion, our desires, even our anger. He's retrograde in this Gemini energy, had a huge starring role in the full moon in Gemini that we just had. And this particular interaction is likely going to illuminate for us where it is that we feel blocked, where it is that we're feeling restricted, where it is that we're feeling that tug of war struggle on, should we move forward? Should we stay here? Should we move back? Should we just, be content? What we're kind of getting at here is that Mars, being in this Gemini energy retrograde nonetheless, is all up in the mental plane, right? All up in trying to process and sort things out. Yes, a little bit frustrated and aggravated that we are not able to take as much action in the physical realm as we would like in order to move out of this current funk. However, as we know, we have to get in alignment in our head space and in our heart space before we can even engage the physical body to take any actions at all. So what we're kind of experiencing here is this restlessness that we're feeling by knowing that we can't keep things the same, but that we're not seeing the changes that we know are coming as fast as we wish that they would be, just so that we can rip the Band-Aid and get this adjustment period over with. The moon sextiles Uranus. This is a beautiful energy for a couple of reasons. First of all, Uranus is the great awakener. He likes to shock us. He likes to inspire us. He likes to download us with aha moments, with epiphanies that we can't unknow. Uranus has been retrograde in Taurus energy, and the lesson here is to examine in our inner realm where it is that we're overly attached to people, to titles, to possessions, to the physical realm of existence. The reason why we need to have this awareness is because many of us are praying for change right now, but won't get out of the way in order for change to happen. Won't loosen the death grip on the old in order for us to put our hands to receive the new. It's very contradictory, I would say. And the moon interacting sextile, which is a beautiful merging of energies, means that emotionally speaking, we are, even though the moon in Cancer is very focused on the past, we are shifting our perspectives. We are opening up just a tad. We are examining our past. We are recognizing what it is that we do have a death grip on. We are recognizing where it is that we have to loosen that grip in order for things to change. And although we're not really hopped up on change right now, we also aren't hopped up on things remaining the same, which is, again, another inner war, inner struggle that we are absolutely feeling. Now, Mercury is going to come into play and semi-square Saturn. So a semi-square is a little bit of a tension point, not as much tension, not as much conflict as a full square would be, but we're halfway there with a semi-square. Mercury is in Capricorn energy now. We are thinking very logically and practically and methodically. We are focused on the to-do list. We are focused on long-term. We are focused on goals. We are focused on ambition. We do have tunnel vision on because we are very not used to being able to concentrate from Mercury being in Sag. So we do have the blinders on in order for us to complete a thought. Now, Saturn, who rules over Capricorn energy, mind you, is in Aquarius energy. And Saturn likes to kind of be a little bit of a Debbie Downer, a little bit of a negative Nancy, not because we're trying to move into a holiday depression here, but because the weight of our roles and responsibilities and our commitments and our obligations and our to-do list is very heavy. It's suffocating at times. But Saturn energy, who rules over karma. So yes, of course, we are moving into new karmic chapters. We just moved out of eclipse season, which threw some wild card events at us. And now moving into Capricorn season with the solstice energy here in a week or two, we will be initiating new karmic chapters. And Saturn, ruling over karma, ruling over structures and foundations in Aquarius energy, knows that we really do have to get focused on the plans that we have for ourselves so that we can start essentially building the bridge to get us from where it is that we're at to where it is that we desire to be. And a lot of this is focusing on boundaries that are needed in our daily lives in order to protect our own wants, needs, and desires so that we're not constantly putting our own wants, needs, and desires on the back burner to do what we think that other people want us to do. That's the whole Saturn and Aquarius energy. We're literally restructuring our roles and responsibilities to other people. And Mercury right now in Capricorn energy is trying to focus on what our personal goals are. So there's a little bit of a tension point here because as much as we want to focus on ourselves, we can't totally cast aside other people, but we do need to consider other people in our long-term plans to see where it is that the boundaries need to be built so that we can still honor our roles, responsibilities, commitments, and obligations to other people while still honoring the commitments, the obligations, the roles and responsibilities that we have to our freaking selves. Now, Venus is going to go ahead and make a very awkward interaction with Uranus. Now, Venus, as you may know, just moved into Capricorn energy late last evening. Go ahead, listen to that astro forecast if you haven't already. It'll give you a bigger picture on what it is that Venus being in Capricorn is meant to teach us. But Venus being low and slow right now, this is her first interaction while in this Capricorn energy. And she's about to interact with Uranus, the great awakener, who is retrograde in Taurus energy. So Capricorn and Taurus energy got a lot in common because they're both earth energies. They're very grounding, very connected to the here and now, to this physical earth realm. Venus, mind you, is still kind of adjusting to her time in this Capricorn energy. Again, this is her first interaction in this Capricorn energy. And of course, Uranus is over there trying to wake us up and shake us up and open up our minds to change. Well, Venus right now in this Capricorn energy has already made a change from Sag to Capricorn. We are shifting our perspectives. We are reevaluating our own worth, our own values. We are reevaluating our relationship dynamics, what is working, what isn't. We are reevaluating what makes us happy, what brings us a sense of joy, sense of pleasure, sense of safety, sense of security, especially where our long-term goals are concerned. Problem is that this Uranian energy that wants us to change, wants us to open up our minds, kind of gets stuck in the earthy mud, if you will, of this Taurus energy that is a fixed sign that does not want change at all, even if it means that we are moving forward, that we are progressing, that we are improving. Fixed signs like Taurus would recognize that they are living in a rut, but that they've created that rut and that rut is comfortable and familiar and predictable, and we prefer to stay there instead of projecting ourselves out into the futuristic realm of the realities that we want to create for ourselves and get lost in the overwhelming options and opportunities available to us. So there's a disconnect. What I would also say here is that Uranian energy is electric in nature. It affects our central nervous system. Venus rules over our heart space. And so there is a high probability where we could see an influx of energy take over our central nervous system, creating restlessness, creating anxiety, creating this want, need, and desire to change, to move, to improve, to progress, but also not willing to do anything about it, right? When push comes to shove, what are you willing to do about it? And there's also this very low and slow nature of being kind of in this present moment, but overwhelmed when we try to project ourselves outside of this present moment. The Uranian energy likes to kind of throw wild card energies at us, and we could be very, very much disrupted in our heart space and in our feelings because of this interaction. The moon and the sun come together in a very awkward interaction, if I do say so myself. The moon in Cancer in its place of power, the sun in Sagittarius energy, fire on fire. So we got some water on water and fire on fire happening. Now, anytime that the moon and the sun come together, good, bad, or otherwise, it's an overlap between what it is that we're moving away from and what it is that we desire to move to. And what we're being left with is the overlap at the present moment where we're feeling like we are being pulled apart into very different directions. Now, the water energy from the moon being in Cancer and the fire energy of the sun being in Sag could go one of two ways. If we're balanced in our emotion and we're balanced in our actions, then this could be a very inspiring, motivating time for us to get our ducks in a row and recognize what it is that we have to kind of, close the door on in order to have the space to open the door to new opportunities and possibilities. If we are over emotional and add too much water to this equation, we are going to snuff out the excitement, snuff out the optimism, snuff out the confidence that we feel when we stand in that Sag energy. We're just going to water it down, right? Water puts out fire. In the alternative equation, if there is a lack of emotion or we're stuck in cold and rigid emotions of the past, and there's too much fire, too much optimism, too much confidence, too much excitement, we are basically going to evaporate our emotions. We are going to burn through our emotional state. And when all the water dries up, what fire does is it burns itself out. So essentially, we have a recipe for disaster here. What would be the best way to navigate these energies is to always remain in balance and to constantly be grounding yourself in this present moment, because the moon in Cancer is saying, hey, let's look back. Let's put our rose-colored glasses on. Let's get nostalgic. Let's think about our family. Let's think about, the holidays in the past. Let's think about everything to do with, what got us here. And the sun is saying, hey, let's look towards the future. Let's think about what it is that we want to do. Let's think about where we need to pour our energy, time, and attention into. And what we get is not being present at all. What we get is a discombobulation in our energy. What we get is a division of energy. And what we get is a lack of standing in our power and in our awareness in the here and now. So that's the trick, is grounding yourself in this present moment and constantly calling your attention and energy back to your body so that you're not getting lost in the emotional depths of the past and you're not getting overly excited and optimistic about the possibilities of the future that may never happen if you lack the energy, discipline, and structure to actually bring that to life. So the name of the game is staying present, staying balanced. Now, the sun is going to go ahead and make a very positive interaction with the true node. Now, the sun is in Sagittarius energy. The true node, the north node in particular, is the path of where it is that we need to be walking. And that north node is in Taurus energy, helping us to decide what it is we need to give birth to, what it is we need to bring life to, what it is that we need to create. The sun in Sag is shining a bright light on a new quest, a new truth, a new adventure, the possibilities that await us, the horizon that is opening up and expanding our minds on what it is that we actually want for ourselves. This positive interaction would suggest that we are losing ourselves in la la land just a tad, enough for us to contemplate what it is that we want to pour our time and energy into. And from that, really make some solid, logical, practical, methodical plans on how it is that we would bring some of those visions, dreams, and goals to life. The last thing that we got going on here today is the moon making a very awkward interaction with Saturn. And let me tell you, this is likely to manifest by outside external situations and circumstances reminding us of our roles, of our responsibilities, of our commitments, of our obligations. And this isn't going to feel good. Mostly because we're very introverted with the moon in Cancer. We want to kind of keep to ourselves. We want to stay home. We want to kind of find comfort and, just kind of nurture ourselves back to a state of emotional safety and security. Well, Saturn, likes to lay on the responsibilities, the to-do list kind of thick. And he's in Aquarius energy, so he's projecting himself into the future on what it is that we need to start focusing in on now if we stand a chance in hell of being able to manifest the elements that need to be in place in order for us to bring our futuristic dream and vision to life. So this doesn't feel good. It feels like, we're being torn in two. But again, we have this extra layer of guilt, of shame, of weight because of the roles and responsibilities and obligations and commitments that we've made that we don't necessarily want to live up to right now. What we want to do is we want to curl up with a blanket with our loved ones. We want to watch a movie. We want to reminisce about the past. We want to look through photo albums. We want to, just do a whole bunch of nostalgic type of things. The last thing we want to do is think about the roles and responsibilities that we have. Last thing we want to do, think about the obligations and commitments that we have. And the last thing we want to do is project ourselves into the future realm of the reality that we want to manifest and start getting organized with the to-do list on what it is that we have to start doing here and now that would take us away from this very romanticized, very nostalgic, very nurturing comfort zone area that we would prefer to stay in. The moon in Cancer just wants to be cozy and wants to kind of, put those rose-colored glasses on and just kind of romanticize where it is that we're at and where it is that we have been.